I won't make it easy for you now. You got 2 minutes of my time, and I don't really break too easily, but I'm worth it, 'cause I'll slip into your dreams tonight. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Oh, so give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind.
Just watch me. Just watch me.
I got you wrapped around my finger, but don't you try to call me tomorrow. There's nothing personal in having a little fun. You wait and see if it's worth your while. So give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind.
Just watch me.
Give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind.
Just watch me. Watch me. Just watch me.
Last night we had something. Tonight I'll be guessing, but I don't really have a case. You don't have to mention, you just like their attention. It's written all over your face. I don't wanna play the quiet type when I'm near you, reading old messages on my phone every time I see you. Tell me, is this part of an act, just to keep your image intact? If you think that strategy's smart, I'm not gonna defend my beating heart.
What's up, y'all? Sean here. Welcome to Tuesday Night Studio Sessions. My name is Sean. I'll be your host. We're going to talk about 360-degree video tonight and anything else you guys want to talk about. I'm out of breath because I just ran downstairs to make some coffee. Looks like y'all are chatting away. So that's awesome. So let's see what we got. Everybody's giving off weather. So Stephen Drone says it was 52 degrees today. Now the weather said 4 to 7 more in of snow coming Thursday.com. And I want to fly my H+. Yes. I would love to fly a drone right now. Nashville is having the first snow it's had in a long time. We only have like maybe 2 to 3 inches maybe, but we've had ice. We had a couple days of ice. Well, we had a day of ice, then we had a day of sleet on top of that. Then, but it stayed like in the 20s, so it never thawed out. And then we got snow on top of that. So, my whole family has been stuck in the house all week. I'm working from home, so I'm used to being home, but I'm not used to working while everybody else is home. So there's that. Eat More Possum says Oklahoma is getting round 2 of snow. It was negative 13 degrees last night. Oh my gosh. And now 9.52 degrees. Oh, it is now 9.52 degrees would be sweet. Got it. So you're negative 13 and you wish it was 9 degrees. Got it. How's the drive? The snow on the ground took a beating today. It was in the 40s. Dang. All right. Nacho wants to know what 360 video is. That's a rhetorical question because he knows what it is. But for those of you that are watching the stream that don't know what 360-degree video is, this right here is my newest baby. This is the Insta360 One X2. It is an update to the Insta360 One X, which was the first camera that they put out in this form factor. It follows kind of the design and layout of the Ricoh Theta cameras, where it's a camera that you can hold in your hand by itself. You can click the shutter button and take a picture or take a video. It has 2 lenses, one on each side. Not all 360 cameras only have 2 lenses. I'm looking at an Insta360 Pro on Facebook Marketplace right now that has either 6 or 8 lenses. I think it might be 8 lenses. But this is a camera that you can take everything all at once. A lot of cameras generally point forward, and 360 cameras point forward and backward, and they have enough overlap so they take everything all at once. And I was chatting with a friend of mine today, and he likes to go frisbee golfing, and he was trying to figure out, get that in the shot. He was trying to figure out what type of camera would be good for that. Right now he's got his iPhone that takes amazing video. He also has a GoPro 8, I believe, which takes wonderful video. But the problem with a camera that only shoots out of one lens is it only captures what it's pointing at. Whereas 360 video has the opportunity to capture everything at once, and then you get to point at what you want. You get to point at what was important later in post. Where that comes in handy is when you're videoing a lot of things all at once and you don't know where the action is going to happen. So an example, I not last summer because we were in a pandemic, but the previous summers, I was the videographer at a summer camp. And if you've ever been around hundreds of teenagers, you never know what's going to happen. The easy part of videographing or taking video of campers is when something specific is happening, like all the kids are playing a game, like, or there's like a ropes course where the whole group of campers will be trying to go up this rope wall or this big wooden wall, and it's too tall for one person. Like one person can run and jump up and climb, but then that person starts pulling. People have to lift campers have to lift each other, and the people on top have to pull them up, stuff like that. I know where all that action is going to happen, so I can point my camera in that direction, and I know I'm going to get some good shots. But sometimes when you are videoing, you don't notice important things. It's like, if you ever used to watch Funniest Home Videos where, someone would fall, or, animals are great for, surprising you with their behavior. And you always hear the guy say, "I got that on video." Well, it was a surprise sometimes that you got things on video. If you're recording with a 360 camera, let's say I'm talking to myself and then something else, or, I do a lot of YouTube videos for you guys where I'm narrating the situation and I've got the camera kind of looking at me. If something interesting happens in the background, I can't turn the camera around in time. Like I can't rewind time to capture that spontaneous moment. Where 360 cameras come in handy is you can. With this camera, I can put it on a tripod and I can sit it somewhere, and I can point. Let's say I took a 5-minute video. I can turn that 5-minute video into a multicam. If I've got one stage in one direction and then I want to look at the crowd in another direction, I can put my 360 camera in the middle of them and I can point back and forth. That's awesome. That's awesome. Stephen Drum says, "What if I take my H Plus camera and spin it fast? Is that 360?" Well, let's talk about the second benefit of 360 is immersion. I've talked on this channel about the Oculus Quest. Let me get it. I didn't show you on my belly, did I? This is the Oculus Quest. It's a VR headset. Something that I can do with the VR headset is I can go and record, let's say, a beautiful creek in the woods, just peaceful, but you hear bugs. Another example is I took a 360-degree video with my Garmin Verb 360 of the solar eclipse that we had several years ago. And it's one of those things that you don't experience that all the time. But since I have a video on YouTube of the eclipse from a 360 camera out in the middle of a field, it was awesome because I can go back in my VR headset and I can relive that moment. I mean, it's not, I couldn't smell what was going on. I couldn't, it's not like sensory overload or anything like that, but it's really interesting. Things that I didn't notice the first, like when I was actually in the eclipse, and things that I noticed once that I'm in the 360 video, There's, ambient sounds. There's what's really interesting is the bugs. The bugs start going crazy because they think it's nighttime, and then it's not nighttime anymore, and then they go back. Um, so it's just really interesting, guys. Um, so this is the pre-show. I don't want to get too far into my discussion tonight um, in the pre-show, but I haven't even asked you guys. Can you guys hear me? I've been talking for 15 minutes. So hopefully, guys, you can hear me, you can see me. I've been playing around with Sketch and making some new overlays, and I'm actually thinking about um, selling overlays for StreamYard because I went to look at this other guy's these overlays that someone else was offering, and I kind of looked at it and said I can do better than that. So not to put him down or anything, he did a great job, but playing around with overlays and trying to get the sizing correct and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. I have taken this camera out. I took it out it might have been a whole week ago. It might have been last Tuesday. I took it to the park, did a lot of testing with it. It was great because it was a nice day in the 60s, unlike today, which is like 20s. It might have been in the teens today. I'm not sure. But it was crazy. So let's do a roll call. So far, we got Steven Drones in the house. We got Nacho rolling. We got Eat More Possum. What's up? And we got Brent Nunley. What's up, Nunley? We got both Brents in the house. Pretty excited. You know it's going to be a good show when you got both Brents and a Nacho and Steven Drones. Everybody that's in here makes the night special. So, snow has shut down the school where I work. So I've been playing with DaVinci Resolve. I played around with DaVinci Resolve a little bit today. I was trying to get the 360 workflow, but it is way too cumbersome to get 360 to work. So I decided to stop that. I'd like to get into DaVinci Resolve a little bit more, but I've got to get my head back into the node space where you've got all these little nodes that you add in. And I guess I'm too spoiled with Final Cut Pro. I've been using Final Cut Pro for like 5 years, and it is so easy to use, so user-friendly, and so powerful all at the same time. So I've been, sorry, I just got a squirrel moment. I've been all day trying to upload. I did a test video. I edited the video yesterday, and then when I uploaded it, YouTube has been taking their sweet time processing it. I don't think they used to. It might just be me, but yeah. Let me see if this is. Just curious. Talk amongst yourselves. All right, it's only at 360 now. All right, so the video that I uploaded is still in HD, so I probably won't post it till tomorrow when it's finally finally updated. But just gonna make sure a couple things are going on. I hope to have an experimental video up on YouTube later this evening trying to figure out callouts and tracking. What is a callout? I understand tracking. But are you talking about like just having oh, are you talking about like right here where it has like the text that you have, but you want that text to kind of track while you're flying or something like that? Yeah, tracking is always interesting. You got to like learn, like you have to let your application, like you pick a point and then you let it do all the computations to follow that point, and then you attach something to that path. Got it. Yeah, I tried to do that for a little while, but man, when I was figuring out my flow for my YouTube channel, I would spend, a lot of time doing so that one, there's something that could like tracking would make my videos really, really cool, but it would also add like, a half hour to my editing. So I decided just not to do that. I think it'd be pretty cool if I did like spec videos of, the Insta360 One X can shoot in 5.7K and it can, do all these things. But that's awesome, Brett, that you're doing that. So my friend, I was telling him about my Insta360, and I think that the 360 camera would be the best thing for him, but doesn't. He was talking about the curve and the curvature or whatever, and not liking that. So I sent him a video of my Insta360 One on top of my DJI Mavic Air, a video I made maybe a year or two ago, and it's where I used Tiny Planet mode in Final Cut Pro, and then zoomed all the way out. And the video that I uploaded just now is a 4K video, like a flat or monoscopic video, but I used the Insta360 camera to pan and zoom, but I went all crazy with Tiny Planet mode. So there's going to be some people that are like, "Ew, Tiny Planet, yuck!" But for me, it's awesome. So Nacho said that I'm buffering. That's not good. Are you guys seeing me okay? Is it Steven Drone's connection or is it mine? I don't think it's mine, but I can check. It's not my connection. I've got 162 megabits per second download. I'm screaming over here. 25 megabits per second upload. So we should be streaming 1080 video pretty easily. So yeah. So I thought we could go through kind of a workflow of a 360 video. It's one thing that we could do tonight. Not quite sure how good that would stream, but we could do that. I do want to show you guys my stick. This is so on the, I'll start here. So this, upside down. Woo, don't drop it. It's heavy. So this is the Insta360 One X selfie stick. And the reason why it's for the One X is because of this tiny little tip, okay? Because the camera is only about 1 inch thick, so the tip is very, very thin, and it gets pretty long. I'm going to show you the whole stick at once. So this is what I got with the Insta360 One X, the original One X. But the Insta360 One X2 has an upgraded stick, and I love it. So I did a video a while back about the GoPro Max. This is the GoPro. This might be the Fusion, but I talked about this selfie stick being my favorite selfie stick of all time because it was nice and thick so I could grip it, but it also acts like a tripod. And I was like, man, there's not much better than this guy. Insta360 made it not better, but very, very good. So it still has the kind of 1 inch thick tip. And it stretches out to about, I'm pretty sure it's about 4 feet. And this is hard to do on camera. It has this wonderful base. So I love it. Love it so much. So everybody else is saying that I'm buffering. So the live stream might be a little cut off tonight if none of you guys can see me. Let me check the stream. I can do that. Okay, so I'm looking at the live stream, and it seems to be fine for me. So I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. So we're still in the pre-show. It's 7 o'clock right now. I think it's time for the intro. Let's do the intro and see what happens when people come back. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Sean Hyde Studios. This is Tuesday night session. Let's start that over. What's up, y'all? Sean here. Welcome to Tuesday night studio sessions. My name is Sean, and I'll be your host. We've already gone through the pre-show. We've talked about snow and ice and 360 cameras a little bit, and now we're gonna hit the real show. So I've got some really cool things planned for you guys tonight. For one, we're going to be talking about the Insta360 One X2. I'm going to show you guys some video that I've taken with it. And it should be a pretty cool night. I have a friend that was inquiring today about 360 cameras, and his understanding was there's this big curve, and 360 video looks kind of weird. But I explained to him how I edit 360 video, and how the way I do it, there is no curve. So you can, especially with a camera like the Insta360 One X2 that shoots in 5.7K, you have a lot of resolution to play with and zoom in on without losing, losing quality. Especially if you're using 1080 video. I like to put everything on my channel in 4K, so sometimes I'll up-res in 4K, and I think it looks fine. I'll watch it on my 4K television back there, and everything looks good to me. So as long as it looks good to me, I'm good with it. But we are going to go through Insta360 Studio 2021. I'm going to add a video that I took. I'm trying to decide which video I should put in here. So let's go through here. And I'm just going to share my screen. All right, y'all. So this is kind of my workflow. I'm going to go take the banner off. Yeah, we'll take the logo off too. So this is kind of the workflow. As you can see, I have a file window open, and I'm browsed just to my SD card straight out of the camera. Okay, so these are the types of files that the Insta360 camera. We're going to talk about Insta360 tonight because it's the current camera that I'm focusing on. But this workflow, there are a lot of cameras that have similar apps. So this workflow will be very similar if you have a Rilo 360 or a Garmin Verb 360. All those cameras have similar keyframing and reframing and pointing and tracking and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at this video. These are pictures right here. DNG is a raw file, and this file right here is Insta360 360 photo. Then we'll come down here. We have a 360 video. We're going to go by name. So okay, here we go. So let's not go by name. Let's go by date modified. I was losing my mind because all the files started moving around. Okay, so let's pick this file name right here. So we have, wait. Okay, so we've got a left-right video and we've got a video. So what a left-right video is, let's see if I can show you. I'm losing my mind, y'all. I had this all planned out. But let's drag my video in from today. Why isn't that working? Oh, I'm an idiot. So it's not dragging in because I went to open it. So I just updated the file today, or I just updated the studio today. So let me pause that. All right, so this talks about the Adobe Premiere Pro plugin. I'm not going to go through the Premiere plugin tonight because it's not necessarily my workflow. But I don't know if you guys can hear the audio or not. I feel like I'm stumbling tonight. I need to slow down and just think. All right. So, as you guys know, it's snowing here in Nashville. So I decided to do kind of a walking vlog. So this is the interface of Insta360 Studio 2021. And you can switch it to free capture, which is a flat video. So my friend was worried about, it being curved, but you can zoom in and get a pretty straight video out of it. So this is just like a regular HD video. But what's awesome about it is I can point in this direction, or I can point in this direction and do like kind of a side shot where I'm looking at the houses. I can do a walking shot. What's cool about this walking shot is I'm using an invisible selfie stick. There's a little bit of weirdness going on right there, but most people don't notice that. I'm walking kind of weird because I'm holding one hand still because I have the camera. But I'm going to mute this because it's distracting me. But so there's two different things you can do. You can do view, which is I can do different types of views. I can do a crystal ball, which I've never, ever used, ever. Neutral view, which is kind of, I think it's too flat. It's kind of warped. And then this is flat. And this is a flat version of the entire 360 video. And if you think about it, it's a lot like, where was that garage shot? So it's a lot like if you took a map. People relate 360 video to like a globe. And then if you took a globe apart and then flattened it, it would not be a rectangle. It would be like all these different little, not hemispheres, but like, it's like if you took an orange peel, you can't flatten out an orange peel. It has all these cuts in it. That's the same thing that's going on here, but it's kind of warping it. So that's what those do. If you can see, a lot of these cut out, but you can do time shift. Motion blur is cut out. You can mark and trim and edit your video on this timeline. Time shift will make it 2 times. And it makes me look like I'm walking really fast. So I'm going to turn that off. But this is basically what my 360 video looks like flattened up. What I generally do is default. And it's basically a fisheye lens. That's why it has a fish icon. And you can zoom in and out. But if you do tiny planet mode, then all of your edges it fills out on the edges. So if you zoom in and come around, all of a sudden I have a good video, but I can move out into Tiny Planet mode. Okay. So that's what this is all about. This is the player. Over here on the right, you have use flow state stabilization. So you can see that I'm bouncing around all over the place. But if you look at the house in the background, it's very stable video. If I turn that off, that's what it looks like. So if you turn flow state stabilization off, it's just like a GoPro attached to your chest. Every step you make, every move you make is going to bounce around all over the place. And that video looks horrible. But in actuality, that's how I'm holding the camera. But because flow state is so good, I don't have to worry about doing like a weird little duck walk or, like a lot of people use with gimbals. When I turn flow state on, look how buttery smooth that is, guys. That's beautiful. Something else is locking direction. So if I like to lock the direction all the time, because I want to edit the direction later myself. I want to reframe it myself. And if you lock the direction, let's go back to where I went around the corner. Wait, where's that? All right, so we'll go around the corner. And since I locked the direction, it's basically kind of looking at me the whole time. All right. Okay. So now let's go back here and not lock the direction and see what that same shot looked like. So if I didn't lock the direction, and it's kind of counterintuitive. You feel like you are locking the direction because you're looking at the same place. But the camera has completely turned sideways because I went around a corner. And if you lock the direction, it should be looking this way. So I like to lock the direction. Eat More Possum said, flow state is awesome. And I totally agree with you. Flow state, especially for, my channel I've put a lot of 360 cameras on drones on my channel. Some of my first videos ever, I was going to be that guy that just put stuff on drones. That was my channel. And it was only until recently, it was actually the Rilo 360 is when stabilization really, really blew people out of the water. Garmin Verb 360 has some stabilization on it, and you can lock direction on it. But it isn't even close to what flow state does now with its 360 X2 or 1X2. It's beautiful. And Brent says even the little Insta360 Go, this little guy, it's only a 1080 camera, but it's so tiny you can put it on your tiny whoops, your little FPV drones, and it has flow state on it. So compared to, I've got a GoPro Session that doesn't stabilize very well at all. It stabilizes, but isn't even close to the flow state stabilization that's on here. It's just wonderful. It really is. So, so we talked about stabilization and we talked about locking the direction. So now we're going to switch views over to free capture. Okay. And what free capture does is it lets you do all kinds of things. So you can add keyframes. So if you don't understand what keyframing is, Whenever you have an animation, I've done this in Macromedia Flash and then Adobe Flash, as well as Premiere, After Effects, Final Cut Pro, DaVinci Resolve. Whenever you want to make a change, you need a starting point and an ending point. And so the minimum keyframes you can have are two. So you've got one here, and then you've got one here, and let's say I want to turn 90 degrees between this point and this point, and then it'll slowly pan over 90 degrees. But if you have keyframes, then you can make all these different little keyframes and have your video do different things at different times. That is where 360 video shines over any other type of video. With keyframing on a flat video, the most you can really do is kind of move around that shot like in a crop. So you can zoom in a little bit, or you can zoom out a little bit. You can pan from, like, zoom in and then pan from left to right. You can do those type of movements, but in 360 video, I can look behind me. That's amazing. Or I can make it look like I'm a drone looking down at myself. And I do that in the video that I've uploaded, but it's still rendering. But I want to show you a little bit of keyframing here. So let's start at the very beginning. And we are going to, and first of all, you can do different things in the studio. You can make an Instagram video, a 1:1 ratio, 9:16. So this would be more like a TikTok, or like a, it's a vertical video, not a horizontal video. 4:3, which is kind of like, 80s MTV type ratio. And then here's a 2.35 to 1. That is more, to me, that looks more like cinematic. But what we're going to do for this tutorial is we're going to just do 9:16, which is a widescreen video. Eat More Possum says, my video from the Insta360 One X on my Inspire as the wind whipped it back and forth blew me away. It's on his YouTube channel. Yeah, Brent put the, I feel like I talked him into the One X, but I'm not sure. But he put his Insta360 One X on his Inspire and took it up and flew it. And if you watch the video, if you look at the horizon, like, flow state holds the horizon and it keeps it very, very steady. And if you go back here and watch, let's see, let's go back here. If you turn flow state off and watch me, like, if I put a camera on a drone, if I put a GoPro on a drone, like an Inspire or DJI Mavic or something like that, then the drone would stay still, but everything else around it would move around. Especially on a drone, you've got it. The drone, even though they look stable, they're going like this. And when they turn, they kind of like, there's a reason why DJI puts gimbals on their drones. There's a reason why there are gimbals on most of the drones you buy today, because the drone is not very steady. Even the finely tuned drones still have to deal with wind. They have to deal with gravity. They have to deal with all this stuff. So this is the type of video that it would look like if you just strapped a GoPro to an FPV drone without stabilization. It looks very wobbly, just like the, like the Phantoms back in the day that would just have a GoPro strapped to it. This is what it would look like. But once you throw a flow state on there, what you get is you get a horizon that is perfectly stable, and now I am unstable. Do you see that? So see how I'm bouncing all around with my walk. I mean, I'm not crazy. I'm not bouncing all around, but you notice I move around, and this little water drop from the snow, you'll notice it kind of, that's actually how the camera's moving. If you watch those water, I don't know if you can see it, but there's water droplets moving back and forth. Um, so yes, the flow state is awesome. And on his Inspire drone, his Inspire was just kind of wobbling around, and I think it was like turning side by side, but the horizon in the video is perfect. So I think I can show that without getting a copyright, but I don't really want to. But it is a great example. I don't think I can show your video, Brent. I can show my videos, though. So let's go here. This is the video that I showed him. Boy, it's a nice day over there. But let's get to the video. So this is one of those videos that I think was stupid of me, because that camera is bigger than that drone is. But I mean, it handled it like a champ. But I just want you to see, like, even hovering. Let's look at the hover again. Let's see if we can get it. So even the hover, you see how the drone's wobbling back and forth right here? That's what your drone does in the sky. Maybe not as much without a camera on it, but watch how the drone wobbles. But the horizon is clear. See the drone wobbling all around, guys? Still one of my favorite things to do is put a 360 camera on a drone. But this is kind of the tiny planet mode that that I would create. I'm pretty sure I did this in Final Cut Pro, but this is where I would take a tiny planet and go into flat mode. So there's tiny planet into flat mode. And then I try to do a little FPV mode, but the drone's in it, so. But I thought that was kind of cool. But let's see if I can get. All right, this is me pretty high up in the sky, where it's a lot windier, and you can see it bouncing around. My drone is bouncing around all over the place, but the planet is like perfect. All right. Now I will show you the original Insta360 One. Okay. And this is how far things have come, y'all. It's one of my favorite videos. This moth would just not leave me alone, butterfly or whatever. So let's get through here. This was a little stupid. I thought this was going to be great, but my drone wobbled all around the place. This is the original DJI Mavic Pro and the original Insta360 One. But I didn't like how that was going, so I took one of the poles off and went from there. But the stabilization on this camera is good, and it was really good at the time, but not close to the Insta360 One X. And I think the Insta360 One X2 is even better than that. But you can see how my drone's just kind of wobbling around right there. This is the vibration I'm getting from the camera. And you can see the wobble. Look at all the jello. Like it looks like just a big jello mold wobbling around there. When I made this video, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was groundbreaking. But now that I look back on it, like the vibrations all over the place. So to Brent's point, the flow state stabilization is awesome. Yeah, this is one of my best videos, I think. This video has 46,000 views. Oh, you know what how many views my videos get now? Like 100. No, I've really slacked off. So, planning on getting out and making a lot of videos. I had a lot of fun last week making videos, so I've kind of got my passion back. But anyway, so that is that. So, if you watch the drone here, the reason the drone's so skinny is because of the stitch mark. But watch how the drone just kind of wobbles around. So we can fix all that now with flow state stabilization. So we're going to go back to free capture. You've got keyframe, you've got delete keyframe, you've got deep track, you've got time shift. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go back to this part of the video. And I think we're going to track this red car. And we're going to center it. It's calculating. All right. So now let's go back and watch the tracking. All right. So let's watch the red car. Pretty simple. And this is where I think my friend Josh, I think would really benefit from an Insta360 camera, because he wants to throw his disc, his frisbee, for disc golf, and he wants to follow the frisbee. So if you see how it's staying on the red car the entire time. So that's an example of tracking. Okay. You can easily go in here and delete the tracking. Pretty simple. Now we're going to go into keyframing. So I want to start off here, and I'm going to add a keyframe. On this keyframe, I can make it a tiny planet, and I can go there. Okay. Now we're going to play the video some. I use my space bar all the time. We're going to go here, and we're going to add another keyframe. Here, I want to go into regular video, and I want to move it to here. Okay. So now let's go back and see what happened between frame 1 and frame 2. All right, so it's going to gradually go from tiny planet mode into regular flat mode. Okay. And you might think that this flat mode is not as flat as you want it to. So I can put a keyframe here, and I can move in, straighten the edges. I'm going to follow that gutter. I'm going to take this gutter right here, and I'm going to line it up with the edge, so I know that I'm kind of perpendicular to the ground. And then we're going to go over here. I'm going to add a new keyframe, and I'm going to pan around to kind of what I'm looking at when I'm walking. Okay. You've got tweaks over here, so you can adjust the tilt angle, the roll angle. If you change these to 0, zero it out. This is 60, so we'll just do that. And then this is field of view, so you can zoom in and zoom out. So you can get down to, you can even change the distance of your lens. So if you change the distance to there, you can see I've got straight lines now. So now let's go back and watch our video. I saw this question: was the tracking was that tracking possible with the 1X? There was. The 1X was, when it came out, they wanted to do this this interesting thing with the app where you'd move the camera to where you wanted to look, and it would record the way you looked. But I do believe the Insta360 One X had they added, if it wasn't in the original make of the camera, it was in a firmware update, because Rilo 360 was their direct competitor, and they came out with it with the camera, and Insta360 did everything they could to match Rilo 360's tracking capabilities. So Rilo 360 came out with it first, but I'm pretty sure Insta360 added it in. But this application right here, Insta360 Studio 2021, has it built into the Studio. So there's two things. There's three things. There's the app, the camera, and the desktop application. Desktop application just got an overhaul, maybe October. Got a huge overhaul. So I can't remember if tracking was available back then, but tracking is definitely available now. And I will test an Insta360 One X file to see if it works, but I'm pretty sure it does. Just because it's the desktop app that's doing all the work, it's not necessarily the camera that has anything to do with it. So I don't know if I can move this. All right, so let's just play through and see what we got so far. So we went from Tiny Planet to regular video mode on the first keyframe. It's kind of angled right there. I'm not a big fan of the way that looks, but we're coming into kind of a flat video, and I do it over a period of time, so it's pretty gradual. So then, all right, we've smoothed the video out to a flat video, and now we're going to start panning around to my front view. But since I did it in, over the course of a minute, it's kind of a slow transition. It's probably way too long. I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm going to move the keyframe to about there. So here we go. So we've got flat, we're kind of looking. And now we're going to pan over to the front of the house. And it's going to slowly turn around to what I'm looking at. So that's kind of my workflow in panning, tilting, and yawing. But Josh, if you're going to watch this later, this is definitely a flat video that looks just like you took it with your GoPro camera in linear mode. Is basically what you're looking at now. But I can add a keyframe here. And I can turn it back into a Tiny Planet. I kind of like to zoom in about to there. But you can even, sometimes I like to make it look like I'm walking, like there's a huge curve to the earth. I don't like where my feet are in that, but these are fun things that I like to do, and kind of these are things you can do with 360 video that you can't do with flat video. It might not be what you're looking for. It might not be the style that you want your videos to look like. But for me, it's a trick in my bag. It's something that I can do that looks really, really cool. And I still, to this day, put videos up, and people are like, how did you do that? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And 360 cameras have been around for a good while. But love it. Okay, so now let's pause it. And what we're going to do is we're going to track the red car again. So let's get up to here. Okay. And we're going to start the track. We're tracking, looks like we got 2 cars this time. That's okay. But what's really cool about it is, it's picking a point and it's tracking it the entire time, and causing this is something that would be hard to do with keyframes. Might not be extremely hard, but So we're gonna keep going. It's even tracking it through my shoulder, getting in the way. All right, so that's all. It stopped because that's all it could track. What we're going to do is we're going to put cannot apply keyframes to deep track areas. So I'm going to put a keyframe right before the track area and turn it into a tiny planet. Okay. So I'm going to put a keyframe there, and I'm going to make it a tiny planet. Nope. I'm going to do that. Okay, let's just keep it that. And then I'm going to come here and put a keyframe. And we are going to make it natural. We're going to zoom in there. Let's see what that does. So we tracked, tracking might completely kill the tiny planet. I've never actually tried this before. But nope, it made the transition. Oh, it made the transition down to, okay, so let's move this here. So it's actually making a bunch of keyframes. During the tracking area. So you can't really do a tiny planet and a track at the same time. But I have a video coming up where I took my Insta360 One X2 and I put it on a long stick and I walked around the park with it. And I'm planning on doing a like an FPV type drone thing. So that tracking option might be really, really cool. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to come here and we are going to turn the camera in this direction. We're going to add a keyframe. Then we're going to do a time shift. To here. And I selected the time shift. I'm going to make it 6 times. And it's got motion blur added to it. So now let's see what happens. Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate that comment. Sometimes in these live streams, whenever I talk a lot, people don't chat. Everybody's talked kind of to each other for a little while, and then once I start getting into it, the chat kind of gets kind of quiet. So I really appreciate you telling me that that you're paying attention. That's really awesome. Welcome to the chat, by the way. Hope you're having a wonderful night. So I don't see motion blur working. So it might be something where it has to add it when it renders. But this is me kind of walking through the house really fast. These are the houses that they're building behind my neighborhood. So, in my opinion, they're slapping these houses up. But I'm not building them and I'm not renting them out, so I don't really have a say. So okay, so let's go here and let's go ahead and add a keyframe. And in this keyframe, we're going to move back to square one. So we're going to go to natural. We're going to look at me because that's where the money is. And then let's say I wanted to split this video up. So I can I forgot how to split the maybe you can't split or trim. You can trim, but you can't split the clip up. So we're just going to trim this down to here. And then I'm going to add it again. Did they take that functionality out? Because there's transitions here. All right. So what you would do at this point, I thought you could do multiple. Let's import another file. Let's do that. So I thought you could you used to be able to edit video, like put multiple clips in, but it looks like the new application you can't. Or maybe that is something they're going to add, because they've got this transitions tab, but it's grayed out, and I'm not sure. Let's put it right there. Transition doesn't happen. There's no way to split the video. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is stitching. We've talked about stabilization up here, and this is stitching. This is probably not the best video to talk about stitching, so let's come here. All right, so this is a video that I kind of messed up on, but you guys will see it once it's rendered, and I post it up tomorrow. But this is on my big old pole. This is at the park. Beautiful shot with all these branches everywhere. I figured it's about time I quit lurking. I appreciate that. Yeah, there are times when I lurk for a while. So we've all done it. Um, but I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you have some manners. Some people lurk and then they say something like really critical and then it just hurts my feelings. So thanks for hanging out, Matthew. But I love shots like this where there's just branches everywhere. I think the trees look really like gnarly, and I just think it's a beautiful shot. But I screwed up on this because this is my small rig for my Insta360, and I 3D printed this mount to put my Rode Wireless Go on it, but it stuck out it was kind of bent a little bit, so you can see the whole face of my Rode Wireless Go right there. There are some shots in this video shoot that the wireless microphone receiver was completely invisible, but I found that when I was in order to get the pole raised, you've got to unscrew it and lift it up, and it clicks, and then you screw it back in. When I was doing all that, the GoPro mount kind of bent a little. Like, it didn't bend, but like the GoPro is a hinge, it kind of went out of plumb. But as you can see, there's me lowering it right there, and you can see it right in the stitch line. But let's talk about stitching. So we're going to pause it right here. Let's actually get up higher. Well, no, let's get me in the stitch line. That'll be a good example. Okay. That should be a great example. All right, so if you zoom in to the stitch line, you can see the overlap. So you see one side of the tripod pole on this side, and then you see another curve going this way. That is the stitch, and that's the overlapping. You see how my hands are kind of weird. There's like the blurriness of my arm in both locations. So the stitch is kind of going straight through here. Okay. Insta360 One X, Insta360 Studio 2021 lets that uses blur. Back in the day, it used to be a straight up line, and it was so annoying. But somewhere down the line, people decided to blend with a gradient, or kind of feather the edges. So when in the overlap, it was not as harsh of a transition. But we've got all these different stitching options. There are lens guards that you can get for your camera to protect the glass lenses. So if you can see how the lenses kind of stick out. Come on, get in focus. Man, that face detection is awesome. All right, so you're not going to get to see that, but there's big bulges sticking out on each side. The lens guard is what, it's like a piece of plastic on top of that to just kind of keep your actual lenses from getting scratched. So if you have those on and you click lens guards, watch what happens to the stitch. It expects, see how the stitch got bigger? And you can actually see my small rig. And you can see more of my Rode Wireless Go. And this round table is now sticking out it's now cut in half and sticking out over here. Same with this. We've got this bench right here duplicated over here, this tabletop duplicated. Like all along this entire stitch line, you've got branches that are duplicated. You've got a lot of ghosting going on, okay? Same is probably true for the other side, but not as obvious. Okay, so this tree is jacked. There's a lot of weird stuff going on right here. This trunk just kind of disappears. So what it's doing is it's trying to, whenever you add a lens on top of a lens, it refracts the light a little bit more and it bends the light. So that's kind of what it's doing here. I almost skipped over this comment. Looks like the view from an FPV bird in a tree. Yep. So that's lens guards. Now dive case above water. This gets even worse. Now you can see the Rode logo on and almost the entire wireless Go. This table is moved all the way over here. This tree is now two trees. And this curve has gotten a lot bigger. And I'm actually in the middle there. What the dive case does, same as the lens guards, is it refracts the light even more. And then this is underwater. You've almost got this entire corner right here. So these are just different versions of stitching. And they added this cold shoe mount stitch, which is basically this cold shoe right here. Yeah, you see that? There's a cold shoe here, and I have there's actually a cold shoe on this side, but that's where I chose to put my Insta3, or that's where I chose to put my GoPro mount. So that's where all of that comes in. So you want to go back to normal stitching unless you have any of those other things. Cold shoe stitching might help. I thought it would help this situation, but it didn't. But what's nice with the Insta360 Studio is it allows you to make those edits in real time, so you can, before you spend 45 minutes rendering a file and realize at the end of the file that you screwed up, this actually allows you to make your tweaks before you even start to render anything. Chromatic. Now let's talk about the calibration. Dynamic stitching. What dynamic stitching does, and it didn't really show us any updates here, but what is happening with dynamic stitching is all of the other stitches is a template. So Insta360 knows how far their lenses are apart. They know the refraction of light that goes into those lenses. They know how thick the camera is, and there's a template with the best possible tweaks. Whenever you go over to this, the file property, camera is selected right here. So this even has my serial number and everything going into this file. But the Insta360 One X2 was, this software knows that that's the camera that it used to take this video. So it knows the dimensions of the camera, it knows the distance between the lenses, all that stuff. So these are template stitches based on all of their calculations already. What dynamic stitching is stitching on the fly. So if a bird comes in here and flies Actually, here's a good example. If we hit play, right here, this table is moving back and forth. What dynamic stitching is going to do is it's going to figure out anything that moves in the stitch line. It's going to try to not cut that bird or person in half. It's going to dynamically try to figure it out. And it does it each keyframe, or it does it frame by frame. And what I've noticed in the past is if you look at the stitch, every once in a while you'll see like this weird like kind of glitch because the software can't really figure out what's going on. So dynamic stitching can hurt you in that area. And then we're going to turn off chromatic calibration, and we're going to see if we can recreate. I think there's a spot where the sun comes out. All right, let's see if we can find some weirdness going on. What chromatic aberrations are like, there's different coatings on your lenses, and sometimes when the light hits it weird, it'll create on these blurry edges on the back. There it is. I found the sun. There it is. Every once in a while you'll get like little purple edges on your light. See how this branch is almost invisible because the light is so strong there? So let's go back and find that sun again. There it is. So it's hard to see really what it's doing there, but that's what's going on there. So something else you can do is you can add a logo to the bottom. So right here I have this tripod. What I would do is I would go into Photoshop and I would make a patch, and then I would add it in Final Cut Pro is what I would do. But that's a whole nother workflow in itself. You can also add a 360 patch in Final Cut Pro, which affects this sometimes. But Insta360 has added these little logos. So if you're in the middle of the video and you don't want people to see your tripod, you can put this little logo down here. There's different styles. I'm not using the Insta360 Evo right now, so that would not make any sense. 1X, 1R. So there's not even a logo for the 1X2. Maybe 1X is supposed to be the 1X2. But you can change the size of the logo depending on how big your tripod is. There it is. And you can also add a logo. Something that I've never done is you can put a logo on the left. So let's see where that went. So I put this logo kind of over there. I think that's kind of weird. But if you wanted to brand your file or watermark it, this would be a good way to watermark your file with your logo. I always choose none because I like the immersion. I think once you throw a logo in there, you kind of kill the illusion. But that's me. So let's go in the media process. These are like aqua. So these are kind of plugins, not plugins, but they're kind of add-ons. Aquavision is actually made this look really good. Usually what Aquavision does is whenever you film underwater, everything gets kind of desaturated because you're, instead of going through air, you're going through water, and light kind of, like water has, messes with the light. So what Aquavision does is it kind of adds saturation to your file to make it look better. I thought it was going to add an orange tint to it, which is usually counteracts the blue of water, and I will say I look kind of weird right there now that I'm looking at me. Well, no, I don't look that bad. I don't know. I think Aquavision looks good there. And then these are True Audio. So there's a audio upgrade that you can affect the waves and the equalizers. Voice focused basically focuses on your voice, and then there's action focus. I believe it has something to do with, there's four microphones on the camera, and I think it has to do with which microphone it points at. But ambient sounds have different frequencies than your voice. So a lot of times when you put a voice enhance, you're equalizing certain channels to make your voice sound better. I found this works great on the Insta360 One R, is when they introduced the True Audio. We went through file properties, and next is rendering. So since we have this in regular 360 view, it is not going to export like this tiny planet. It is basically going to export like that flat video that we saw. So it's always 2-to-1. So the width is always twice as big as the height. The bit rate is basically the megabits per second. It's the quality of files or the quality of frames that you have. Here's your frame rate. There's no options there. Here you can, this is your codec, your encoding. You can do H.264, H.265. Those are kind of compressed video formats, and I believe it's just MP4s, but I'm not sure. Actually, I take that back. I don't think that's right. ProRes 422 is what I would use if I was going to present my video to a client, and I wanted to use Final Cut Pro. ProRes it's a professional resolution. File name is what it was called. This was February 9th, 2021. It's a video, and then this is kind of like anyway, that's the file name, and this is where I would want it to go. And when I hit OK, it'll start rendering. But if I go into free capture, and I go to export, now it's like a regular 1080 video. You can't make this bigger. Maybe you can. Yeah. So you can export it as a 4K file if you want to. So yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. Now let's try to share a video. So StreamYard. Oh, Bob Casey's in the house. What's up? Not to get off the subject, but I have a question for tonight. Sunshine and snow. What is the best filter and setting for the camera on the drone? I usually use 8 or 16. 8 or 16 what? Are you talking about an ND filter? Um, so how do I answer ND filter questions? It is all relative. So the best way to explain an ND filter is sunglasses. Whenever, if you think about your eyeball, your pupil, if you've ever looked at yourself in the mirror in the dark, your pupils are really, really wide. So the black part of your eye is really, really wide to bring in more light. And that's what you need to do in the dark. When you're in the sunlight, your pupils are very, very tiny. If you've ever been to the eye doctor and you get your eyes dilated, your pupil's really, really big. And that's going to let in way too much light for, like, if you looked into the sun with your pupils dilated, it would damage your eyes. Okay? So if you think of your pupil of your eye like a shutter, on your camera, the bigger the hole, the more the light comes in. If you put sunglasses on it, then you're putting less strain on your eyes. So that goes to a depth of field question where basically if your shutters, so that when you put a filter on your lens, or when you put a filter on your lens, you're allowing your camera to function at it needs less. It lets you open up your shutter more so that you don't. You can actually bring in. I just confused myself. That doesn't sound very user friendly, what I'm saying. The higher the number, the darker the shade. So depending on how much sun you have, if you're on a drone and you're pointing at the ground, ND filters don't really matter that much. If you are in the sun, if you are pointing at the sky, that's where it's going to affect it. So if you're flying straight into the sun, you want to put some sunglasses on. I would put a 16 on. But if most of your drone footage is going to be pointing at the ground, I don't think ND filters are all that helpful. They really help with contrast. So if you're filming, if you're filming a subject, if you're filming a person, ND filters really, really help in bright sunlight because things aren't as harsh. A lot of people use ND filters to make things blurry. So they can use, like if you want to get motion blur during the daytime, you put shades on because it makes your shutter open up more and you get that nice depth of field and motion blur. So it really depends on the effect that you want. But in my opinion, I've put ND filters on my drones before, and I haven't seen much of a difference. Like the days that I fly, I would fly on a nice day, and my camera settings would be so that there'd be enough dynamic range to get the sky and the ground. And then Bob Casey says, what I'm looking for is What setting is best for what filter? So that's going to be relative on your day. Like I hear this question all the time, and people, give their best settings, but I guarantee you they don't use that setting every time they fly, and I guarantee you they don't use that setting every time they point their camera at anything. If you are filming correctly, you base your setting on your environment. I struggle with flying anything in manual. I struggle with moving a camera on anything manual. I would either do auto exposure or I would do um, auto white balance. And the reason I say that, and a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but when you are flying, you're moving through the air and your environment and your subject is changing constantly. So your camera has so much goodness in it to automatically calculate the best settings for you. If you were taking a photograph, on the other hand, you would use different settings to get different effects. So if you wanted to get long exposure, you would keep the shutter open for a longer period of time, and you would adjust your other settings so you didn't oversaturate or overexpose your picture. But when you're moving in space, your camera needs to know what to do. The biggest thing that I would suggest is if you're flying into a sunset, then I would, use your exposure composition, your exposure calibrations, and go like -2 or -4. But I hope that makes sense, and I might be confusing you. Let's see what Brent said. The main advantage is to stop the strobing effect when the shutter speed is fast due to bright sun. My unfiltered Pocket 2 footage was painful on the eye in the snow. Okay. So what Brent is talking about is the strobing effect with the shutter speed. So if you put sunglasses or an ND filter on your lens, you're bringing the shutter speed down. Was that correct, Brent? I gotcha. So so bright sun and bright snow, just like Eat More Possum said, they're brighter. So in again, my opinion, but if you're going to move and you're going to fly around, when your camera's pointing at a house or your camera's pointing at a tree, it's going to need a different exposure than when it's pointing, at a big field of snow. So what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't manually set my drone to anything if I was going to move over different types of subjects. If I had a camera on a tripod right in front of me, then I would feel comfortable making manual adjustments so the focus doesn't go in and out. But even like this situation here, I've got my camera on auto, because if I come back here, watch what happens. See how it gets brighter? See how it just got brighter? Now I'm exposed because I'm farther from my lights. But when I come up here, I'm going to be really bright, but my camera is going to slowly adjust down to the right exposure. So your shutter speed should be twice your frames per second. It's called the 180-degree rule. Brent, is that the same thing? Is that the formula that you use for like strobing LEDs? Or like if you see someone on their cell phone, they'll do like a slow motion video and all of a sudden there's this crazy strobing effect. Is that because those settings are wrong? It's a good discussion. And it's one of those discussions that I wish I would have prepared for. Because everything is so relative, I don't have a lot of those things memorized. So if I'm going out to do a specific shoot, I will do the math right before I do the shoot. I just don't think there's a one size fits all when it comes to that. I mean, if you think about your eye, when you put sunglasses on, different lighting, your eyes still adjust themselves to the light coming in. All the ND filter does is add some shade. That's all it is. It's just a sunglass for your lens. So yeah, what time we got? It is 8:30. Y'all had me go a half hour over. It's all Bob Casey's fault. I'm just kidding. So yeah, I'm gonna put my new logo up. My new logo bubble. There's a new logo bubble. There's my new logo bubble with. Oh, that's a big one. There's a smaller one. So yeah, hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned for more videos on the Insta360 One X2, 360 in general. 360 video is something that it's a passion that I have that a lot of people don't have, but I'm trying to get better at FPV flying so I can put my 360 cameras on those drones and you guys can really see the power. No apologies, man. Any question is welcome, by the way. This is a live stream. It's not my show. This is a community that we can talk to each other. So I get a little frustrated when I can't answer your question because that's one of those that I should know frontwards and backwards, but I very rarely use ND filters. I did an ND filter video for my Paradanafi and honestly didn't see much of a change at all. But it was such a good video because the Paradanafi has the flight plan. So I made a flight plan and then I put each ND filter on it and flew the exact same flight plan. And then I could put the video side by side, but clouds are moving, the sun changed at times. And so it's still not a concentrated test. So often you can really know what ND you need until you actually fire up the bird and see what shutter speed is in the light of day. Yeah, so what Brent said right there is exactly what I was talking about. It's all relative to the day. Basically what I would say is, you don't want to burn up batteries finding the best setting. I would fly at least one of your batteries, just auto everything. And that'll probably be the best video you get. I've noticed it's the best video that I get. So yeah, hope you guys like this video. Stay tuned to my channel for more videos on the Insta360 One X2. I've got 3 videos in the making. 2 of them have already been uploaded, but they're processing. And I'm not going to set them live until at least the 4K version is processed, because 360 video just looks stupid. Any resolution lower than 4K. But and if you're wondering if I'm getting the DJI FPV drone, I'm probably not getting it right when it comes out. I know it would be huge for the channel and a lot of people would watch my videos, but I don't feel like it does much more than the Parrot Anafi did a year and a half ago when they came out with their FPV version. It's fast, but I am not at the point where I need a fast drone yet. I'm still kind of an old man that likes to take cinematic video instead of roller coaster FPV flight. And I'm not skilled enough as an FPV pilot to fly an FPV drone with sensors on it, because my drone would just stop all the time and it would probably just tick me off. So that's kind of where I'm at on that drone. I might see some videos on it and decide that I want to get it, but I feel like I need to learn how to fly an FPV drone before I spend over $1,000 on a drone that just does basically what my other drones do with an FPV mode in it. So DJI Mavic Air 2 has an FPV camera mode, so I'll just do a video on that whenever I can get my bird up in the sky again. But yeah, y'all have a wonderful night. I'm going to sign out. Please like, subscribe to my channel, click on the bell for notifications when I put out more videos. Peace out, y'all.